Carson Hocevar just had the best finish of his Cup career. He also triggered a 9-car wreck, got confronted on pit road by a veteran, and had one of NASCAR's most beloved voices defend him in the same afternoon. It's not a race, that's a storyline. And right now, the NASCAR garage is split right down the middle on what to do about it. At Michigan International Speedway, Hocevar crossed the finish line 5th, a career-best Cup result, and he did it at his home state track. But lap 83 is where things got ugly. On a mid-race restart, Hocevar tried to squeeze his number 77 Chevy into a 3-wide gap that simply didn't exist. He clipped John Hunter Nemechek's rear bumper, sent him spinning, and took out 9 cars in one shot. Tyler Reddick, done. Austin Dillon, done. Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, and Denny Hamlin all collected. Then, in a very NASCAR moment, Bubba Wallace marched over to pit road and got in Hocevar's face about it. Right there, in front of everybody, this wasn't a first offense. Wallace specifically called out that Hocevar had already gotten into him the race before Michigan, so this wasn't patience running thin, this was patience already gone. What makes this complicated is where Hocevar is in his career. He's in his 3rd year in the Cup Series, still learning the fine line between bold and reckless. And right now, that line keeps getting crossed at other people's expense. The message Wallace was delivering wasn't really just about Michigan, it was about a pattern. Young drivers earn their reputation fast in NASCAR, good or bad, and Hocevar is building one at warp speed. Wallace even pulled out the Kevin Harvick playbook on him. Harvick told Bubba years ago, stop hitting things and your finishes improve. Simple math. Wallace tried to pass that same lesson forward. Here's the real tension in this story. Bubba Wallace is absolutely right, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is also absolutely right. That's what makes this worth talking about. Wallace's argument is the pragmatic one. When you wreck people on restarts, you burn goodwill you haven't earned yet. Veterans remember, spotters talk, and in a tight points race, handing over 5, 6, 7 cars worth of damage every other week is not sustainable for Hocevar's team or his relationships in the garage. The proof was right there in the final laps. Hocevar and Daniel Suarez went side by side for the lead late in that race. Suarez chose patience, protected his car, and let the moment come to him. Hocevar pushed aggressively, and Denny Hamlin drafted right past both of them to take the win. The aggressive strategy backfired in real time in the same race where Hocevar caused a 9-car pileup. But Dale Jr.'s argument is the entertainment one, and it matters too. Hocevar makes NASCAR must-watch TV. He's unpredictable. He takes swings. In a sport where too many drivers default to managing tires and riding around in 12th, Hocevar is actually trying to win. That's rare, that's valuable. The question is whether he can learn to be aggressive without being destructive. Right now, he can't separate the two. That's the skill gap between a guy who races fast and a guy who races smart. Hocevar at least owned it afterward. He said his intention wasn't to wreck anyone and that he'd handle the next restart differently. That's maturity. Whether it translates on track is the next chapter. The fans are divided the same way the garage is. Half of NASCAR Twitter is posting Hocevar highlights and calling him the most entertaining driver on the grid. The other half is asking why the same guy keeps wrecking people on restarts and still gets defended. The Dale Jr. comparison to his father is doing heavy rotation right now. And look, that comparison carries weight. The Intimidator wasn't exactly gentle on restarts either, but Dale Sr. also had the results to back up the aggression. Hocevar is still building that case. The pit road confrontation between Bubba and Hocevar has already become a moment. A few nods, a few smiles, a pat on the shoulder. It ended professionally, but the message was loud and public. Best case. Hocevar takes the Harvick Lesson seriously, tightens his restart discipline, and channels that same aggression into calculated racecraft. He starts finishing in the top 10 consistently, earns garage respect, and becomes the face of the next generation of Cup racing. The guy who's both electric and dangerous in the best way. Worst case, he keeps forcing moves that aren't there. The wrecks pile up and the goodwill from that Michigan 5th place finish gets buried under incident reports. Teams start racing him differently, giving him no room, no courtesy, and his raw speed stops translating into results because the rest of the field has run out of patience. Carson Hocevar has the talent. Nobody in that garage is questioning that. What they're questioning is whether the judgment catches up before the damage becomes permanent. So here's what we want to know. Drop it in the comments. Is Bubba Wallace right that Hocevar needs to dial it back? Or is Dale Jr. right that NASCAR needs more of exactly this? And do you think Hocevar's ceiling is a championship contender or the most entertaining driver who never quite gets there? If you're watching NASCAR for moments like this, hit subscribe. We break down every one of them every single week.